So you're all set up with your new nail kit. Now it's time to pick out a nail polish for stamping. And I'm going to go through a few things that will help you pick a polish from what you already have that will stamp well. What I've done here is I've just pulled out some of my personal polishes, whatever I had laying around, and I swatched them on a white piece of paper. So you can see here, just all little bits, just to see what they would look like and how well they stamp. Now, most polishes will stamp well on a white or very light color. That's why we recommend using a pale nail polish to start with as your base coat. Something like what I'm wearing right now, like color like that. Now, if you want to start getting into stamping on darker colors, I've used just a scrap piece of mail to try my stamping on a darker color here. And you can see some polishes work way better than others. And we're going to just address some of the things you can identify in your polishes to pick out good ones. A lot of it is trial and error though, so you'll just have to play around with it. Stamping on a piece of paper like this is a good idea to test out polishes too if you don't want to mess up your nails. So the first three I've done, and I've swatched them here too. I put a little bit of polish, are just these three. And they're all from the same brand, but obviously they all stamp quite differently. There you go. You can see the mint stamps very well here, and it's a very thick color. The coral also stamps pretty well, not as well as the mint. And then the purple, it's kind of a dark color, so it just naturally doesn't contrast well with a darker base. Whereas if you're using it on a pale color, it pops up quite well. So I'm sure it would look good on maybe the polish I'm wearing, or cream, or light pink. Something else you can use that often works very well is a fine micro glitter polish. So this one here. And if I swatch it, open it up like that, you can see just how opaque it is. Now, not all micro glitters are that opaque, so you just want to make sure that you don't see a lot of transparent polish in it. But if it's that thick, you'll get a really nice stark contrast, especially on darker colors. Now I'm going to pull out, this is a higher end polish, but it's not a promise of a good stamp. So it's a dark color, so it naturally will stamp a little bit better than your lighter colors. But I don't know if you can see, but in the neck of the bottle, a lot of light comes through. So as the nail polish kind of falls down into the bottle, there's a lot of light. And that's why when you stamp it on a dark color, it doesn't pop at all. Granted, it is already a dark color, so you might want to stamp it on a light color anyway. But I'm going to do a similar example with a light color. So this is actually the base coat I'm wearing right now, but it wouldn't make a great stamping color, and I'll show you why. You can see in the neck of the bottle, all that light coming through. It's not a very thick, dense, concentrated color. So when you stamp it on a dark color, right here, that's what it looks like. So it really just doesn't contrast. It looks okay, but if you're spending all that time on your nails, you want a bit more pop. So I wouldn't use that one for stamping. This is another micro glitter. Again, it doesn't matter what brand it is. It really depends from color to color. But this glitter has a nice pop. It's super thick. And you can just see how bold that is. Forgot to do this one. Let me do this one real quick and you can compare. So it's a lot thicker than the stamp, obviously, but I don't know if you can tell around the edges, it's much thinner, more translucent. I've done two blacks here, and now black pops. Black always pops. It's kind of your easiest one to get started with. So those are two different kinds of blacks. One's really cheap, one's a medium quality one. They pretty much look the same. Here they are on the dark. Even on the dark, they show up really well. So it's not a bad one to start with. And I'll just swatch it real quick. This is a pretty thick black. But again, because it's such a dark color, it always tends to pop well. This is the other one. It's a nail art polish. It's a little harder to use this, the nail art polish, just because you need to glob it on when you stamp. But anyway, as you can see, they're pretty consistent. It's hard to go wrong with black. It really is. This is a cream, kind of a grayish cream, a grayish, I guess. You can see it's very thin. That would be a terrible, terrible stamping polish. It barely shows up. I mean, depends what you're going for, really, but barely shows up. On the white, it looks fine, so you could do a really cool, subtle look. But you can see that streak through. It's too translucent to use. Didn't do a good example of this one, but it's also very translucent. So there you go. See, that's a better depiction of what it looks like. You can see just how see-through it is. Same with this one. So these two are poor choices for stamping on darker colors. And then finally I've got this guy, which I actually thought would be a good choice, but then it surprised me and it wasn't. And then when you look closer, yeah, the neck of the bottle is quite see-through. And when you do a little swatch of it on this dark color, you can really see it's translucent and probably not a good choice for stamping. So to contrast, you've got that thick colored one. These are both same kind of color family, but obviously this one pops a lot more. The silver is such a good choice. It really shows. Same with the copper. And of course the black really pops. So this is just me swatching what I have in my own personal nail polish stash. So if you look through and you can grab a piece of dark colored mail that you don't want and just do little swatches, you can already see what would probably look good stamped and what wouldn't. So that's just how I test out new polishes to see if they'd be good for stamping if I don't feel like doing it directly on my nails. But it's a little bit of trial and error, so you'll find the ones that work for you. We also keep a list on spice.ca of some polishes that we know stamp really well. So I suggest you play around, you DIY, and you try out your polishes.